Hi, and welcome to the Revive, Thrive, and Optimize podcast. I'm Billy Weiss, compounding pharmacist and health and wellness expert. Again today, across the road here from me, across the table, is our special guest, Lydia. Thank you, Lydia, for being here again.
Thank you.
And behind the scenes is Mike.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Billy. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
All right. Got a question for you. 5 tests. Your top 5 tests that are typically not in a normal, routine physical.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it might be blood, it might be urinalysis, whatever.
Right.
But what would you call the top 5 that are the most important that we don't even look at, that we're not tested?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lydia. And you know, I think the obvious answer for number one, because I always talk about it being the most important test, is the fasting insulin test.
Now, that's the same as A1C, right?
It is not. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad you asked that, because they are correlated. They work together, but they are not even close to the same thing.
Okay.
But we look at both to get a good picture of how people are working. So the A1C is a 90 to 120 day blood sugar average.
Okay.
The fasting insulin is how much insulin did your body have to make, our pancreas have to make, to keep that A1C in that range, whatever it is, good or bad. So they work together. So every time we eat, we have to make insulin to get or we need to make insulin if we're not type 1 diabetic, to get the nutrients into the cell, right? And it pushes nutrients into the cell. We'll just call it that today. And so the more sugary things or things that turn to sugar we eat, the more insulin is necessary to push that out of the blood and into the cells.
So what damage does a high fasting insulin cause?
Yeah. So, I mean, literally when I say this, I'm not trying to be funny. It causes everything you can name. So it leads to more heart disease. It leads to more cancers. It leads to more strokes. It leads to more blood clots. It leads to more inflammation. It leads to more arthritis. It leads to more pain. It leads to more Alzheimer's. It leads to more dementia. I mean, osteoporosis, which we did, a podcast on. So it literally, so insulin is very unique in my mind, okay, the way that I think about it. When insulin is at optimal or lower levels, I mean, it is absolutely critical for us to stay alive, right?
Right.
But when it is chronically high and chronically elevated, it literally drives the processes of every disease that we suffer from. So that's why it's so important to know it. Now, the sad part is, Lydia, as you know, almost very rarely, I would say less than 1% of the people that I've ever run into and done consultations with and had it in the summit know they're fasting insulin, unless they've already been to something with me and we've already suggested it and now they understand how important it is. And to me, it is the most important test that we can have. And the sad part is nobody's measuring it.
And it's not that difficult.
No, it's no different than any other test they're doing. They take a little bit of blood and they measure it, and it's not expensive. It's cheap.
So if I ask my provider to do my fasting insulin, and the provider says, "Why do you want to know that?"
Yeah.
What's your response?
My response would be, it's the most important test I could have, but that's probably not going to fly. I would probably approach it from, well, doctor, I've done a lot of research, and I think it's a really important number for me to know. And that is one of the things I didn't mention is it can lead to high blood pressure. It leads to the fat being stored on our bodies, which is probably the first thing I should have talked about.
Yes.
It leads to more visceral fat, which is the fat that we don't necessarily see, but is
and that's around
the organs,
right.
Can kill us the quickest, right? It's the most dangerous fat.
Right.
So this insulin deal is a big deal. And so the reason that I believe, Lydia, that your doctor would be hesitant to order it is there are no drugs to correct it.
So there's no box to check.
There's no drug that says, hey,
take this.
We're going to take this because your insulin is elevated.
Right.
So therein lies your answer as to why we don't measure it. As a matter of fact, you know this certainly. The medical community doesn't seem to get it, but you know this, and you're not in medicine. All right. You don't have a career in medicine.
No, I've been told I've been obsessed with my
Yeah,
health.
well, okay.
I've got an obsession with my health. I was
Nothing
told
wrong with
that.
that. We actually misuse the way we treat type 2 diabetes in America because we treat it as a disease of too little insulin, when type 2 diabetes is a disease of too much insulin.
But that's curable,
it's
right?
Never been measured. Oh, it's 100%
Okay.
fixable, but not the way that we approach it.
Right.
So, and when I say we, I mean not the way that the medical
Typical.
system approaches it.
Right.
So I have helped hundreds, at least hundreds of diabetics get off all their prescription meds and all their insulin shots.
Right.
Because I've shown them that it's not a disease of too much insulin, too little insulin. It's a
much.
disease of too much. And so, again, there's not a drug to fix it. There's a
Right.
lifestyle. There's supplements. There's walking. There's sleeping. There's drinking water. There's, I mean, really, really, really difficult and expensive things, right? Like walking and sleeping and
Drinking water.
drinking
the right
water.
kind of water.
Now the supplements cost something, but it is very fixable, and I say it all the time, and I know people they look at me like I'm crazy, but type 2 diabetes should not exist.
Right.
I mean, it really should not exist. And I'm not making light of anybody that has type 2
Right.
diabetes.
Understand.
I'm just telling you that your body can absolutely fix that. Type 1 diabetes is a different ballgame. They are not making enough insulin. Their pancreas does not produce enough. That's a different story. Without insulin, they will die. Okay, I mean it's that simple because they can't get the stuff into the cells the food into the cells like we talked about.
so if I have my fasting insulin tested, what number am I looking for?
Well,
me
that's a great question, Lydia. And here's the problem with that. Even if they do test it, okay, I believe that today LabCorp is 2.6, I believe it is, to 24.7.
Wow.
That's the range that they give as, quote, normal. Okay. So let's just say that you go in and you, not you, but anybody
Right.
goes to their doctor. They have the gut. I'll call it the beer belly. Okay. They're overweight. They're tired. They have high blood pressure. They're on blood pressure meds. They just don't feel good. They say, hey, I come home from work and I just got to sit down. I'm done. I'm finished. I eat. I go to bed. And they look at their insulin and they say, well, it's 18 or 14 or 22. It's normal. So what we're looking for, Lydia, is optimal insulin
Right.
because that I can tell you anything in double digits is a real problem. So anything 10 or above is a real problem. What we want to do is have that, I believe, somewhere between 2 and 6.
Right.
And I like 2 to 4, actually, which means that we have enough to do what needs to be done, but not more than we need. And the way you do that is by following a plan like the OptiU plan, which is the stuff we've talked about,
Right.
walking, drinking water, taking the
Whole
right
foods.
supplements, real foods, yes. Not filling the body full of a bunch of junk, really. And so it is very important to know that can be corrected. But the problem is nobody knows their insulin.
Right.
And so what we're typically doing, and why I think it's the most important test, is because now we're taking these type 2 diabetics with too much insulin, but we've never tested it. And we're treating it like it's too little insulin, and we're giving them drugs, and then we're giving them insulin. We're giving them drugs to increase their insulin often, and then we're giving them we're giving them actual insulin shots. When the whole time I can show them that they have too much insulin, and that is the problem. So
There's a whole cascade of ailments that come.
Yeah, well, look,
that.
diabetics are at a 50% greater risk of death from all causes. So this is why this test is so important. So think about that. You increase your risk by 50% of death from a heart attack, from cancer, from a stroke, from a blood clot, from a fall, and then complications from the fall. So this is really one of the key components that I teach in the OptiU Wellness Summit is to be the CEO. If you don't know your insulin number, it would be like the CEO of, I don't know, Ford Motor Company not knowing how much how many cars or trucks they sold
Right.
last quarter. It would be that critical to know. And so I think that people really need to understand that this insulin is the driver when it's too high of all these conditions that we have and suffer from. And type 2 diabetes, not only, well, diabetics, period, have a 50% greater risk of dying from all causes, but type 2 diabetes is the number one cause of blindness in the United States.
Really?
It's the number one cause of amputations below the waist. It's the number one cause of neuropathies. I mean, we have all these complications from it, and it's completely fixable by your own body if you do the right things.
Okay, so fasting insulin is number one.
Everybody should know their fasting insulin.
Okay, C-reactive protein. Why
Yeah.
would I ask my doctor for that?
Well, I think you want a high sensitivity or an HSC reactive protein. And the reason you would ask for that is the number one killer in America, Lydia, is
Cardiovascular?
correct, heart disease, right?
Right.
So high sensitivity C reactive protein measures inflammation, more specific to our arterial system.
Right.
So, one of the things we talk about is if the hose pipe when you're washing your car if it goes under the tire and gets a kink in it, you don't get as much
Right.
water
There's no
flow.
Right.
So think of that hose as your arteries and think of that water flow as your blood. So if you get a kink, hence inflammation throughout the arterial system, you have more chances of blood not going the way that it should, right?
Right.
So the body will then often increase the pressure to try to push the blood through, just like you would do if you were washing your car. You either have to fix the kink,
Right.
get rid of the inflammation, or you have to turn the pressure up on the hose to get the car rinsed properly.
So
So
in line with that, didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you.
no.
In line with that, is there a number? Is there an optimal number?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So what you'll find on the lab test, okay, is that 0 to 1 or less than 1.
Right.
So 0 to 0.99
Right.
is considered low risk for cardiovascular events. Okay. 1 to 3 is considered average risk, which, is not a good average, in America. And then above 3 is considered high risk for a cardiovascular event. So we want the number to be below 1, and I like it to be below 0.5, 0.5 or below, because that means you're showing very little, if any, true inflammation in the arterial system.
If cardiovascular disease is the number one killer, why wouldn't a test like this be part of the standard care?
Well, I think it's an easy answer again, Lydia. Name me the drugs that they would give you if your HSCRP was elevated.
Right.
Just like with the insulin, if there's no drug class for it, it's not really what they're taught and it's not on their radar anymore, because they can't go, oh yeah, you have this number that's not where we want it, take this drug. And you got to remember, Lydia, as unfortunate as it is, that's what our system has become, and that's all it's become.
A pill and a procedure.
It's check the box. This was high, I gave them this drug.
Right.
And it's that simple. We don't ever allow them anymore to think and be the providers that they can be by thinking things through and knowing these things, because it's not taught. So think about it. One of the things that would drive up your HSCRP is the first test we talked about.
Fasting insulin.
So if the insulin is chronically high, we get inflammation. I talked about that earlier. Well, sometimes that inflammation will unfortunately be in the arterial system.
Right. In the same line as the CRP, what is the coronary artery calcium score?
Okay, so now that's not a blood test.
Right, it's not.
That's
It's
a
a
procedure.
scan.
That's a
Right.
scan. That's a test, but not a blood test. So coronary artery calcium score is where they do a I'll call it a high-speed X-ray. That's not exactly what
Right,
it is, but I think that's an easy way for people to understand of your arteries in and around the heart. So they actually lay you on a table and you hold your breath a couple of times,
Right.
and then you breathe, and they are actually measuring or looking, taking pictures of the vessels in and around the heart, and then they give you a score.
Right.
And so a coronary artery calcium test gives you a score. Everybody wants their score to be 0.
Right.
That means they don't show any blockages in the arteries that's active, okay? As those numbers go up, that means we have more and more blockage, more and more inflammation,
Right.
more and more reasons for the blood not to flow the way that we want it to. So I think that if you're asking me the most important procedure you can have
Right.
outside of a blood test, I think coronary artery calcium score is there.
Right.
Again, how many people have I ever met before I met them that ever had a coronary artery calcium scan or score, a CAC?
Right.
Almost, I literally can't think of any.
Right.
I literally
We
can't
didn't know
think
about
of
it
one.
until, and our doctor was, glad to write it, but we had to request it.
Well, Lydia, the sad part is that these, quote, executive physicals that some people have,
Yes.
where they do the treadmill test and they do the blood work and they do all this, and they'll say, you're in the top 1% in the world. And they'll say, yeah, doc, but when I'm riding my bike, I have, chest pain. You're in the top 1% in the world. Don't worry about it. And they go have a coronary artery calcium score and their score 7, 8, 900.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that those other tests can't
Right.
mean something. It's good that they're good, but it's not the end all be all when you can look and go, oh, there's blockage there. And you can do it in, I don't know, a coronary artery calcium scan literally takes a minute or less if you ask, the best I can recollect doing
Right.
it.
Yeah. It didn't take long.
There's no dyes, there's no harm, there's no procedures that would create any issues. And it gives us more information than any of those other things they can do.
Now, God made our bodies wonderfully well.
Yes.
And we mess them up.
Yep.
But one of the things that I think you helped me with when I got my CAC score back was, if you're not having any of these symptoms, you're not out of breath, you can do
Right.
this, you can do that.
Right.
Your body has a way of rerouting.
Yeah, your body can often adapt, okay?
Okay.
It can bypass. It can
Okay.
make natural bypasses. And so either one of two things has happened. If you have a score that is not where you want it and
Right.
you don't have symptoms, the body has already adapted to that. Now, that's not good. We would still want a 0,
Right.
We don't want our body to have to adapt, because what happens is that will typically keep growing at a fast pace, and then the adaptations eventually will run out.
Right.
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 So what our goal is then to stop, or I shouldn't even say stop, but to slow the growth, because what the studies show is that if you're not having symptoms, even though your score is high,
Right.
if you can slow that growth, your risk of an event in the next 10 years is pretty low.
Right.
It's not as low as somebody with a 0,
Right.
but if we can slow that growth to less than 15% a year, we start to see that our risk start to come down.
And I could guess lifestyle, food choices, supplements, all the things circle back around.
Yeah.
That you can be in control of that.
Yeah.
I won't change my score, possibly, but maybe I won't grow it.
Well, yeah. So yes, the goal is to not let it grow more
Right.
than 15% a year. So let's just say your score's 100.
Okay.
The next year you probably want to have it repeated. You want to have no more than 115.
Right.
But we do have people, let me say it this way. We do have people that actually lower their score. Okay?
I'll be interested.
Now they're doing a lot of different stuff. It's
Right.
not easy, but it can happen. Whereas the medical, establishment says that, hey, it's a chronic progressive disease. It's going to grow at more than 15% a year. We'll manage it with meds.
Right.
We'll give you a statin drug. We'll try to lower your LDL down to 0. We'll, or below 20, 30, 40, whatever the heck they say today. I don't even know anymore. And I'm really, and they've done this by the way on people with these crazy high cholesterol numbers and crazy high LDL numbers, and they'll often have a 0 score.
Right.
So again, I think we just kind of put the cholesterol there and say, hey, that's the cause, and it's probably not when we look at everything. Actually, it is not.
I did go to a cardiologist just to make sure, and he
Yeah.
did all the boxes. Can you do this? Can you do that?
Right.
How are you eating? What's your exercise? And he was a very great doctor, and he said, then why are you here?
Right.
Because you're doing everything right.
Yeah.
Now, he did recommend a statin, but he said, you're not going to take it, are you? And I'm like, no.
Well, Lydia, the thing is that people don't understand is may not understand is that your coronary artery calcium didn't happen over the last few years. It's been building and building and building over decades. So he's right. You're doing all the stuff that we know that can help prevent that crazy growth. The statin has really no benefit for you at all, outside of the fact that in some studies they have shown that low dose statins can lower inflammation, which we've talked about in measuring your HSCRP. But as far as lowering LDL and cholesterol, that really has no positive effect for your heart. No.
All right, so we've got fasting insulin, CRP, the coronary test, the coronary artery calcium score.
Yeah.
Now, homocysteine.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Okay.
Why do I want to know that?
Well, homocysteine is a breakdown product, like a waste product, we'll call it. So, and it creates, guess what? If it's high, we have more inflammation. So it's another great marker of inflammation. Now, it's not so specific for the arteries, but it is correlated with higher homocysteine levels and higher blood clots and higher heart attacks and all those kind of things because there's more inflammation. The pipes are smaller.
Right.
But homocysteine, to me, one of the major reasons that I want people to know it is that it is highly related to Alzheimer's and dementia.
Really?
Things. So, yeah, so that's going to be one of the main reasons that we want to know people's homocysteine is to try to keep their mind sharp as they age.
Wow.
But it is important for heart health too, cardiovascular health, but it's also very important for brain health. And so the good news with homocysteine, unlike C-reactive protein, it's somewhat of a simple fix for most people. Now, there's not a drug for it, but they don't have enough methylated B vitamins.
Okay.
So, in my multivitamin, the OptiU multivitamin, I have all the B vitamins, but they're methylated. And then I have a methylated B complex that I formulated on top of that. Because we know today that I believe the last research showed that at least 65% of people do not methylate well. And just think detox. That's really all you need to think about. When I say methylation, that's a big word. But just think how your body gets rid of toxic stuff.
Right.
I told you homocysteine is kind of a waste product, the way we'll describe it.
Okay.
So if you can detox the waste product, it's not a problem, right? So with the right B vitamins, we will typically see the homocysteine come down to what we consider optimal levels, which is, we'll call 8 or below, but we like 6 or below.
Right.
Now, they'll say, I think up to 14 is normal. Well, again, normal is waiting to have a heart attack, waiting to have a stroke, waiting to have dementia, waiting to have Alzheimer's. We don't want to be there, waiting to have a blood clot.
Right.
So, methylated B with the multi will typically take care of that. If not, some people have like tougher time pushing their methylation pathways.
Right.
And so we will sometimes have to add a product called trimethylglycine or TMG to it. And that seems to really help push those methylation pathways if the methylated Bs do not do it. For most people, we find that if they will do the OptiU Multi, the Prescriptions Plus Methylated B. For most people, that will do it. But for some of us, now that is truly genetic, not what our levels are, but how our body uses those methylation pathways. So again, epigenetics, what do I put in and around and on my body to fix that? Well, if I do the right B vitamins and I don't see the results, then I add the TMG, and almost always at that point, we'll see the homocysteine come down.
When I first started seeing Kim, that was the first thing she wanted to check was that level.
Yes.
And then she did the MTHFR.
Yes. So she's checking to see about your genes.
And I have a gene from my mom and from my dad.
Yeah. So it's going to make it harder for you to, if you only had the gene from one of your parents,
right. I've got it.
It's gonna be easier to push your methylation, your detox pathways, than if you had both. So see, that's the beauty though, Lydia, as you know, of going to a provider like Kim who understands these things and understands CRP and understands insulin and understands homocysteine. And look, the test is great. Now you know.
Right.
But I tell everybody, just assume you have it Okay, let's assume you have it. Let's take the right forms of the right vitamins, and then if our homocysteine still high, then we can do the TMG, then we can do the methylation test if we need to.
A lot of this testing that we've done now with Kim explains all the bowel symptoms
Yes.
I had,
Yeah.
all the gut issues
Yeah.
that I had.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, listen, as you know, Kim has an amazing mind and an amazing background being in emergency medicine.
Right.
And so she has just seen a lot of different things that
Right.
you just, that maybe I take for granted that somebody would know this, but she knows it because she's seen so many things. And then, her and I have done the same hormone training,
Right.
the same philosophy of the right test and the right hormones. And so it makes that perfect, partnership or
Right,
whatever
it
we
does.
want to call
It
it,
does.
to where, I refer people to her, she refers people to me, and she does what she's the expert in, and I do what I'm the expert in, and hopefully we get results like you and Bill and so many others have had.
She also has been very vigilant with me, and she tested my thyroid.
Yes.
Which they do a TSH, and most people will say my TSH is fine.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Yeah.
But it's more than that.
It is.
She went in and did my free T3
Yep.
and free T4, and after 2 years, I'm about where I should be.
Yeah. Yeah, Lydia, this is one of the most or one of the most missed things I see in medicine. So I don't know what number we're on. Is this number 4?
I think this is number
But
4.
the right
T3
thyroid
and-
test.
Right.
Yeah. So a TSH with a free FREE T3 and a free T4. If we only look at TSH, and we have a podcast on
You
this
do.
that people can go back and watch, but you're missing the whole boat. I mean, it's kind of like knowing your A1C without your fasting insulin. Well, great, but how much
Got to know.
insulin did it take to get you there? Your TSH looks great, but you have all the thyroid symptoms. How much free T3 do you have? So those are really critical numbers because TSH can be manipulated and made to look very normal with T4 only, or levothyroxine or Synthroid is what it's known as. But nobody ever gets better.
No.
And the reason is because they're not increasing their T3, because T4, real quick, is gas in the gas tank. T3 is mashing the gas pedal. You can have all the gas in the tank you want. If you're too short and you can't reach the gas pedal or the gas pedal is broken, none of it matters. And that's what we typically see. The doctor will pat themselves on the back and say, oh, I've got your TSH right where we want it, 2.0 or whatever.
Right.
And you go, yeah, but I don't feel any better. My hair still falls out. I'm still cold. I'm constipated. My nails are brittle and thin. My hair's falling out. And they go, yeah, but
You're getting older.
your thyroid's perfect. You're just getting older, Lydia. You just got to live with it. And what's happened in most of those cases is their free T3 is
Right.
still very low. And actually, what a lot of times happens is when you give them the T4, that actually drives their T3 a little lower because now that production has slowed down. So we want to measure those so that we know if you need the porcine thyroid that contains the T3 and the T4.
And it is a game changer. When you
It
get
is a
things
game changer.
balanced, it is a game changer.
And
I'm here to tell you.
and when you say that, Lydia, it literally is a game changer, especially, and I don't mean that it's not for men, but especially for women.
Right.
Women have more thyroid issues, and probably from childbirth and a lot of hormones.
Is
and
it
all these things.
menopausally related?
It can be.
Okay.
It definitely can
Okay.
change after menopause. So
Okay.
we know that we see more and more thyroid issues in women, but it's very prominent in men today too, but still more women than men. And it is a game changer because just think of it literally like your car. If you can't mash the gas efficiently, you're not going to feel real well, right? If your body can't mash the gas, you're not going to feel like yourself.
All right, so where are we? We got fasting insulin, CRP, homocysteine.
Free T3 and
free-
T4.
All right, that's
Yeah.
4. The coronary artery calcium score. I guess I could count for 5. What else? What are we leaving out?
I think that one of the tests that I hate has to be on this list, but I see it overlooked all the time and not done is vitamin D.
Excellent.
It is amazing to me how many times people go in and they don't measure their vitamin D. They just don't order it for them. And that's amazing to me when
It's vital.
it is critical to literally every system in the body, bones, heart, brain, immune system. I mean, we could go on and on, but it is a critical thing to know
And it's not
what your
measured.
vitamin D level is. And the other thing that's easy for that is it's easy to fix. If it's low, it is, and if you're not on vitamin D, it's low or it's not optimal.
Right.
It's very, very simple to fix. You take the vitamin D with Super K, you take it with food, and your levels will 100% of the time go up. Now, if your vitamin D is tested and it's low, the doctors can prescribe vitamin D2, which is a prescription only.
Okay.
The problem is it's only 96% less effective in the studies than vitamin D3, which is what we get from the sunshine through our skin.
Right.
So they will often prescribe vitamin D2, and the people go, yeah, but my levels never moved. And I'm like, yeah, that's only because it's 96% less effective than D3, which you can buy without a prescription. So that is one that I'll add to the list that should not be overlooked. I mean, none of them should
Right,
be overlooked. But the fact that we often don't have vitamin D levels on people is mind-blowing to me today with all the overwhelming amount of research that's out there. But it's not real common. It's not as uncommon as the others.
Right.
They're almost never. But I would say maybe 40 to 50% of the people don't know their vitamin D level that I have consultations with.
And we've said it before, optimal is 80 or above.
Well, let's call it 60 to 100
okay.
is where we want to be. Optimal is 80 to 100.
Now, your
Yeah.
D3 is K2.
It has D3 with
So
K2.
why?
Well, because the K2 would protect from any potential harm in the calcium levels in the blood if the vitamin D was extremely high.
So it's formulated to work, make this symphony all work together.
That's correct. And it's
Okay.
tremendous for the bones and the heart.
Okay,
That's
so
why we have that combination.
let's recap. Fasting insulin,
Yep.
high sensitivity C-reactive protein,
Yeah.
homocysteine,
Yep.
coronary artery calcium
Yeah.
score, and vitamin D,
And then their thyroid.
the thyroid.
The
Those are-
TSH, free T3, and free T4 in a combo.
if you're
but-
not getting those, request them.
Well, and so that is 5 blood tests
Right.
and one scan or
Right.
procedure
Right.
test, which is the coronary artery calcium. Now, the good news is, Lydia, if their providers won't order those 5 blood tests we talked about, we can do that.
Oh, okay.
We can help them with that. Or they can do it on their own. I can just get them a discount because we
Okay.
do so many.
Right.
And then we can help them understand what the numbers say. The coronary artery calcium, because it needs to be read by a radiologist,
There's a couple.
that has to be ordered by a provider. Okay. So that is not one that we can do on our own or through a pharmacist or whatever, so like myself. You have to have a provider that will order the coronary artery calcium.
Out of pocket, I think it was $100.
$100. $100.
Yes, that's all it was.
Super cheap and gives you tons of information.
And I know that with the blood test that Kim has run for me, with these on it, my insurance has paid.
If it is coded properly,
Right.
it will be covered by the insurance.
And a lot of people
now,
need to hear
not
that.
coronary artery calcium,
Right.
but the blood
The
test.
Blood test.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we've done
These
good.
are things that are critical for people to be good CEOs, Lydia. So thank you for bringing that up.
So if they know what to ask for and they have a reason to ask for it, then they're only taking care of themselves.
Yeah, and look, the really the code that will cover almost every test, blood test, is fatigue.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, just I'm fatigued in the afternoon.
And that gets it.
Yeah, so
Well, you'd think these would pop out because cardiovascular is the number one killer disease in.
you would certainly
You'd
think.
think.
Well, and look, we didn't really talk about it, but a lot. But insulin, the inflammatory markers, the vitamin D, those are all linked to the second leading cause of death in the United
Cancer.
States, cancer. So these are like super, super important numbers that I think we need to know.
So if you arm yourself with an arsenal of information, then you can take control
Yeah.
of your life.
And we should have pointed out, I should have pointed out that low T3, which we're talking about free T3,
Right.
is related to cardiovascular disease.
Really?
It's also related to cancer. So all of these tests that we have talked about and that you already had written down because you knew what the 5. And see, that's the beauty of you being the CEO, you already knew the 5
Right.
tests plus the 5 blood tests plus the procedure that needed to be done. So that just tells me how much you have learned and done the research and know, because you already knew the test. Now, the most people, including a lot of providers, I mean, they don't know it. So that says something, Lydia,
Yeah.
for sure.
If it becomes an obsession, which I was told that not long ago, that I'm obsessed with all of these
Right.
podcasts and the health, and I'm
Right.
like, it kind of hurt my feelings in the very beginning.
Yeah.
I thought, what a good thing to be
Yeah.
obsessed about.
Well, people have told me before, they're like, you're addicted to exercise. You're addicted to lifting weights. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, so we have the same
Okay.
addiction.
If I'm addicted to those kind of things, isn't that better than, drinking or smoking or heroin or whatever? I'm like, okay, I can live with that kind of.
Or relying on the medical community to take
Yeah.
care of our health.
Yeah. Can't do it, Lydia. We
And
have to be the CEO. We have to
get
take
it.
charge. We have to get these tests done if we want to have optimal health, because they can all be improved through a plan like the OptiU plan. It's that simple.
There's a difference between a lifespan and a health span.
Absolutely.
And I'm shooting for the health span.
Me too. Me too.
Thank you, Billy. This
Thank
has
you.
been wonderful.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.